tackling ocean pollution from turf to surf.
Do you hear what I hear? Listen to the ocean and you will hear a cry for help. The ocean is hurting and we are the source of the hurt. But we can stop and start to heal our ocean by preventing pollution from getting into our waterways. It can start with you. Join an active organization, or better yet, make a personal commitment. Commit not for just one day in the year, but for the rest of your life. Let's dispose of our plastic and other waste responsibly, and let's start building resilience. Let the healing begin.
This message is brought to you by the OECS Commission with funding from the Government of Norway. REMLIT, tackling ocean pollution from turf to surf. There is value all around us: spiritual, therapeutic, physical, economic, the energy, the power, an ocean of endless possibilities. The ocean is there for our enjoyment, for the enrichment of our lives, for our nutritional needs and food security. But first, we need to care for our ocean, conserve its resources for generations to come, or else we could lose it all.
This message brought to you by the OECS Commission with funding from the Government of Norway. REMLIT, tackling ocean pollution from turf to surf.
One of those golden apples for me?
Sure, Miss Lisa.
Can I speak to you a moment, please, Terry? Thanks, Terry. So, Renee told me that you were shouting at her, and I noticed a bruise on her left arm in class.
I've been trying to follow this positive discipline list, but she doesn't listen. I have 2 jobs, and by the time I get home, she doesn't want to go to sleep, and I can't deal with all her crying and disobedience.
I understand you must be exhausted. Does she have a routine to follow?
Not really. I make whatever is easiest as she does her homework, and I send her to bed. But she always manages to stay up for an extra 3 hours and ask 1,000,001 questions.
How about you try this? First of all, plan out all your meals for the week. Even if you're going to pick up the ingredients on the same day, knowing what you will cook will take some of the stress of wondering what to do. Then sit with her to review her homework. You guys can chat over dinner and then let her help you wash up. Give her the chance to ask questions, Terry. And make sure to ask her about her day as well. Then, when she's ready for bed, she has the chance to ask you just one more question before it's time for lights out.
That sounds like a lot of work.
In class, she asks questions all the time. It's her way of spending time with you. And I'm sure if you give her the chance to talk to you, she'll be more amenable to going to bed on time. And that means more free time for you.
So this positive discipline thing working for you?
To be honest, some days better than others. But I am getting a lot more practice seeing as he's spending most of his day with me now.
Okay, I'll give your suggestion a try.
And if you ever need someone to talk to or somebody to watch out for you while you work, I'm happy to help.
Thanks, Miss Lisa. Let me get going. I'm on to job number 2.
It's tough to care for a child when you're under stress as well. Ask a friend or family member to assist when you're having trouble coping. This message brought to you by the Ministry of Education, UNICEF, this station, and funded by UK Aid.
The Government Information Unit, GIU, is the communications arm of the Government of Montserrat. We serve as the official platform for news and information for and about the government's ministries and departments. We develop information products on government's policies, programs, projects, and activities, which are then channeled through various communication platforms. GIU, your official source for news and information on the Government of Montserrat.
Almighty God, who in your infinite wisdom and providential goodness has appointed the offices of rulers and councils for the welfare of society and the just government of man. We beseech you to behold with your abundant favor us, your servants, whom you have been pleased to call to the performance of such important trust in this country. Let your blessings descend upon us here in council assembled, and grant that we may, as in your presence, treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation in so just and faithful a manner to promote your honor and glory and to advance the interest you have committed to our charge. All which we ask in the name and for the sake of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Amen. We are back for day 2 of the appropriation budget debates. I have one apology which came in yesterday from Honorable Romeo, who sends his apologies for not being able to be present at this sitting of the Assembly. I do recognize the Honorable Premier.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, just before we move on, may I, Madam Speaker, ask permission to move a motion for this? Sorry, may I suggest, Madam Speaker, that we wish to defer on a motion, Madam Speaker. We wish to defer 2 bills which is in my name, appropriate the Revenue Laws Consequential Amendment Bill and the Tax Administration Bill. I wish to defer them until next sitting of the House, if you don't mind, Madam Speaker.
I recognize the Deputy Premier.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I would like to second the motion for the deferral of the Revenue Laws Consequential Amendment Bill 2022 and the Tax Administration Bill 2022.
It has been moved and seconded that the Revenue Laws Consequential Amendment Bill 2022 and the Tax Administration Bill 2022 be deferred. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, nay. And the ayes have it. The ayes have it. The 2 bills will be deferred. I recognize the Honourable Minister of Education and Health.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we're here to debate the budget that was proposed on Monday last. But before I get into that, I note that the opposition are not present by design or otherwise, I do not know. But I just want the public to know that they're not here. And we are talking about a budget wherein the country can run. And if they are not here, we wonder whether or not they understand the importance of passing a budget. Madam Speaker, I rise to debate the budget proposed for 2023-24. In so doing, I wish to remind us that the bill proposed by the Premier on Monday, and so it's my task to add or to highlight points and to ensure that we understand and appreciate the said appropriation bill. And of course, to deal with the political aspects thereof. Madam Speaker, I am sure that today, well, I'm no longer sure, because when I wrote it, I was sure that we would have an opposition in place, that we would be hear unbelievable things, that we ought to put money in several areas. We would hear how the people are suffering, and the list goes on. We will hear the things we have to fix, and to fix them now. Madam Speaker, there is a saying that a child loves the child and wants what it wants when it wants it. with no regard for the parents. Madam Speaker, the parents, or in this case the government, can only do what is within its means. These pie-in-the-sky promises are nothing but political camouflage. The truth be told, they know it cannot happen without money, and they know that they cannot happen within the budget. You will again hear that the UK must provide whatever funds are needed when needed. You will hear that we should get whatever is happening in the UK to happen to us. Sometimes we forget that it's not only grants we have in the UK, but we have taxes as well. We have to be careful what we ask for. Some will shock you and surprise you, but this is all in the political sphere. It's democracy at live and well. Let the people talk, but know the figures won't change. Pay attention to what is on offer and not what some would like to offer. As for this fiscal year, the island will benefit from the budgets before us. And we are hoping, Madam Speaker, that the present climate would remain intact so that the pound will stay strong or get stronger. If that happens, we may benefit from that. And the converse is also true. If things change, that could be lessened, and therefore the budget will be affected. But we are hoping for the best. Madam Speaker, this MCAP-led government would like the best of everything for Montserrat, our beloved island, and its people. We on this side, Madam Speaker, would love an airport that would at least bring in the big Lear plane that they have right on, the biggest Lear plane. A seaport that accommodates mega cruise ships and a luxury ferry. A hospital for hundreds of people and every service in the medical world that is possible. Madam Speaker, we would like a facility where all mentally challenged persons can be restored and returned to society. A network of roads throughout the island, well paved with proper drainage. And some good farm roads. All the bridges, top repairs. All government buildings, well maintained. Salaries the best in the world. Energy from all sources, geothermal, wind, solar, and everything else. An agricultural sector that produces fruits and vegetables all year round, and animals, fish, everything all year round, and at the best quality. Madam Speaker, we would like a school system that is second to none, where all students entering comes out with at least 7 CXC passes with distinction. And better still, that they're up to date on the technology which runs today's world. The college student pass all with distinction. Primary school producing every child to the top standard. Nursery school where children, as they begin, are smart as ever. Sports and all kind, and producing world-class sportsmen and women. Jobs available until others will have to come here to work. How things are so good in Montserrat. A welfare system that is so endowed, those who fall through the crack or are old can get all they need. A Montserrat that would say no one is left behind in all walks of life. A place where our cultural heritage is rich and everyone knows about its history, its customs, its foods, its historic buildings and landmarks, its language and its tradition. A place, a Montserrat where the Parliament building would be the best in the world and offer many services, even to some extent provide some of its own funds. A Montserrat where the people who live here would be loving and kind and be quick to sell Montserrat as the best place in the world and the best people. So no more pulling down and ostracizing of people. Indeed, a Montserrat, indeed a place of harmony. Whew. What a place that would be. But alas, stark reality, Madam Speaker, of the world in which we live must come into full focus as we present this budget. But like everybody else, Lord, Madam Speaker, we would like to see all the perfect things. Madam Speaker, this government is not oblivious to the needs and even the wants of our people, but we only can satisfy some of those needs within this budget. I want to say that again, that we are not oblivious as a government to the needs and wants of our people, but we only can satisfy some of those needs within this present budget. Remember, Madam Speaker, a budget is the substance of money hoped for, the evidence of money not seen. So while we present these projections, we do not know what will happen down the road. And Montserrat is such that we have seen Hugo that we didn't expect, volcanic thing. Anything, a pandemic, anything can happen and change the dynamics. And therefore, while we propose and project a lot of funds, nobody knows what tomorrow will bring. But God will be our guide in all of this. Madam Speaker, everything costs money. And there's no free lunches, we hear that said. And it doesn't matter if you get something free, somebody pays for it. So there's really nothing free in this world. Somebody pays. Even if you didn't, somebody does. In this case, the UK government. In fact, there's a saying that who pays the piper calls the tune. And whenever it's said, we don't like to hear it. But it still stands holy that whoever have the largesse, the purse, that they would have some control. And in this case, the UK government, who is spending 64.45% of our budget, does have a say. And there's a MOU, a memorandum of understanding, to go with it. Thankfully, as I look through that memorandum this year, I know some clauses will come out. It doesn't look as onerous as others have seen before. So there's some improvement. And we know that nobody, no donor agent, no country gives you money without strings attached. Nobody. And all you have to ask the CARICOM countries that face IMF and the kind of strings they get attached. While they boast of all the big budgets, those strings are serious strings. So, Madam Speaker, this budget of 97,000,024 on the recurrence, 97 and 24, and that is by the UK government, $97,024,000. And the balance Montserrat government has to raise of $53,524,000, which is 53.55% of. The composition of the budget supports, Madam Speaker, according to the MOU, is recurrent $27,570,000, which equate to $88,224,000. And that is to support the government's recurrent expenditure across all ministries. Access subsidy.
Point of order.
Point of order, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I thought the Honorable Premier said the ministers will be speaking to their line items as per his general set out of the budget. The minister seems to be representing the budget. We already know the figures, and we think the minister should stick to his remit, Madam Speaker.
So your point of order is?
That the minister is off target on the budget, Madam Speaker, and we do not want to have two budget presentations.
Honourable
So
member.
as the Premier said, they should report on the areas covered in the overarching budget, not present the budget again. Did the Premier do so badly in the budget that they have to do it over?
Honourable member, the members on the other side has the opportunity to respond to the budget how they see fit, just as the opposition will have the opportunity to do the same. All right? Can we continue?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Before I was so rudely interrupted, I may continue. The access subsidy of £562,500 or $1,800,000 to support the main access to Montserrat. The TC would be £2,187,500 or $7 million to support the government filling the key posts and build its capacity, which is a total, Madam Speaker, of sterling £30,320,000. And I wonder, Madam Speaker, why the interruption. I know why, because in order to present this budget, Madam Speaker, I have to look at the figures that we are getting and we have agreed to. Here it is, what we are getting, the part we are getting from the UK. And some have added to say, Madam Speaker, that is only based on the exchange rate. I wish to tell this Honourable House, Madam Speaker, that in the previous years, I think last year we had some £24 million. This year we have 30. It is a significant increase of £6 million. Not because of the exchange rate, but because of substantial funds being put. So that being as it may, Madam Speaker, clearly, anyone can see it's a significant increase. Even the blind could read that. Madam Speaker, this MCAP-led government understands and feels the need of the people, contrary to what some may say. We act with maturity. We must cut our suits according to the cloth we have. It would be foolhardy, even in our personal lives, if we were to spend more than we are earning. That leads us to all kinds of financial debts. And government is not allowed to produce a budget that they cannot find the funding for. You will note, and I will recall, one time in this House we passed a negative budget, but you know we have to find the fund to balance it. And there was a whole hullabaloo. And so this time, Madam Speaker, we have a budget that is balanced, and we shall continue with it. So for now, I shall look at some of the highlights from the ministries before I get back to the political end of it, at the end of the speech. Because, Madam Speaker, I recognize being 1 year from the next election is silly season, and it has started on Holy Saturday. Nonetheless, Madam Speaker, Ministry of Education, Youth Affairs, Sports, Ecclesiastic Affairs. Madam Speaker, we had a budget of $11,387,900. And I am pleased to report that we have spent $11,207,771 or 98.41 of the budget. So there's nothing to send back, as we colloquially say. With the limited resources, we were able to carry out the functions of various sectors of education. I will now highlight some, the work undertaken and some to be undertaken. I will not go through every aspect. I have only picked out some. For the MSS, of the 25 subjects offered at MSS, 96% are fully covered, and with the exception of electricity, which is partially covered. A chemistry teacher has joined the staff. 80% of the SCSE exams were passed, with 38% attaining 5 subjects, including maths and English. A successful sports day, as I'm sure most of us who were there would recall, was staged and well attended, which is the first since post-pandemic. It was happy that we were able to go out again and watch the children run. Having said that all the classes are covered does not mean that we do not still have some problems and some with teacher recruitment. And from time to time, we started out with a good slate, except maybe for one, and then some left. So you will always, there's that dynamic that is going on. So, Madam Speaker, we are hoping that come September we'll have a full slate and that they will stay on. L&M has been, the buildings have been around for a while, and we have heard so much about them that I never give dates. Thankfully, I've never given dates on them. It is still ongoing. And I think we are closer to the end now than when we started. Most of its external works are completed, and the internal works is progressing well. The internal contractor is installing the windows, and the electrical work is ongoing. We expect, if there's nothing else that no other monkey wrench put in the whole matter, that the buildings would be ready at least. I noticed they said for some other time, but I say at least for the next new school year. Meanwhile, 175 desks and chairs and adjustable stools for students have been ordered and should arrive shortly. The MSS compound, if you pass there, you will note it got a new facelift, and some 5 painters were employed. The aesthetics matter, so it looks a little better now. We hope that it will be more conducive to the learning. Madam Speaker, one of the lawn tennis courts is being converted into a multi-purpose court for netball, basketball, and volleyball. I know a question was asked in here. Subsequent to that, there was a little source that we found somewhere, some money that could have been used to at least refurbish that. So that is being done. We continue in the education system to upgrade and modernize the smart projectors, interactive boards, the lab equipment and supplies have been procured. Thanks to the EU, some £104,470 will be used to procure 50 laptops for teachers, 90 for students, 100 mobile hotspots, 70 desktops, mainly for the IT lab. Education technology policy is being developed to include a roadmap for the implementation, and that is for £11,500. The Education Management Information System would continue and be developed for £37,000. Remote instructions and training. These funds will be used for training teachers and students and parents in remote instructions, and that would be the tune of £79,975. And for the visibility, because most of the monies, the donors would like to know that everybody know that they gave you money. And for that visibility, there's a communication plan developed which will be for £17,000. Madam Speaker, We know that the secondary school have been plagued with the leadership, and I am pleased to report that the advert for principal is out, and hopefully by the new year there will be a new principal in post. Primary schools. A new trained teacher, a numeracy mentor, an education psychologist has been welcomed to the staff. For years, Madam Speaker, and even since we're here, we've heard much about English and maths, which are two the prerequisites to enter government services, have been on the decline, and so the numeracy and the language teacher are in place, and I hope by the end of this year we would get a report of assessment as to whether or not this system is working, that children are being improved in their maths and in their language. So we shall wait for that. We had Literacy Week, which was successful, and this was mainly to boost and encourage students to read. Because if you're going to be any good at languages, you need to read. And there was spelling bee competition held as well. And again, all the primary schools had successful, well-attended sports post-pandemic. The next school year, we expect that a numeracy week will be added. Like you have the literacy week, you will have numeracy week, so that the importance of maths can be highlighted. Also, going forward, Madam Speaker, we have to look at reviewing the teaching assistants that we have. Because, Madam Speaker, I think somewhere along the line, when the thought of it came into being, it probably was ill-conceived as to who should be a teacher's assistant. And so they need to now relook that, because your teacher's assistant should be able to help you to teach the children, if it's a teacher's assistant. They're not meant to be maids and caretakers. They should go a little beyond that. And so we have to review that so that our children will get full benefits. Because for me, Madam Speaker, while the teacher, the substantive teacher sets the lesson, the assistant could be overlooking that while the teacher who is trained deal with the slower learners. In fact, that's what we did in our time without assistants. You set the work for the brides, and you went and you one-on-one with the teachers. When we had 34 and 35 children in our class, you alone had to do that. I'm thankful that we have assistants now. Early childhood, they're now looking at reviewing the whole qualifications, and that we are looking also for the new year to do some repairs at Lookout and St. John's School and some adjustment at Salem. So that's going forward. I'll speak to the salary a bit when I get later, but just to say here that the nursery school teachers' salaries, a lot of them are really very low, and I think it was a carryover from the days when they just had a nursery school, literally a nursery school. They were not, you didn't look at qualifications and all that back then, and the salaries didn't seem to change. But along with what we have done, as the Premier would have spoken to, that we have removed the lower bars of the system, the salary scale, the lower scales, that they now would be up. And I'm hoping, I'll keep asking, because are they being dealt with? And I have been told that they were. But it's the proof of the pudding is in the eating. So I shall know if according to what qualifications they have, and they are now still looking at that. Madam Speaker, the MCC continues to throw out quite a bit, a good cohort of well-rounded for the sixth formers, and some students were given student fees, and I'm going to leave that one to the Honorable Parliamentary Secretary who would have raised that matter sometime. So I'll leave that to her to explain. The apprenticeship program, youths and affairs. Some 43 students were engaged. You had the escape program for summer. You had career fairs. You have cooking classes, different things, but I'll leave those. I believe that those will get some meat on it in short order. Or maybe not. Youth policy will be rolled out. The youth policy that should have been rolled out, there's still some work to be done on it. I think they're still waiting for funding to carry out that whole youth policy. I think the youth policy goes back a very long time. And I think we need to, I'm trying to see if we could get it on the books in short order. The community development, the officers have been working with the community groups, and I'm sure you, Davy Hill, the Rasta group, and Cudgerhead Community Center, you note, and Salem Community Center. The Cudgerhead one, the downstairs of the old police station was given to us some years ago as community center. We're now looking at seeing how we could refurbish that, while the upstairs is for things to deal with safeguarding, which we're still looking to get some monies to do. So those two things are going on. Salem building is, the designs are finished and it should be going out to tender shortly so that we can have, that's the old Salem school, to be developed into a community center. Because I think Cudgerhead and St. Peter, Cudgerhead and Salem do not have community centers. St. John's, Dayville, St. Peter's have one, although it's not a government, it's still there. So those two, so we are looking to get everything up to spot. Sports, Madam Speaker, basketball led tournament took place here, and it was successful for those who went. And Madam Speaker, one of the players was selected. I think it's Jordan Ryan. He's now looking at who might take him on for a scholarship. And so we are not sure yet whether he will get a full scholarship or otherwise. So based on what he gets, I am now going to make the appeal to the finance minister and the FS that we may come to you to aid the gentleman to go forward with this sports. Cricketers did well and made us proud when they won the match against Nevis after all these years, under the captaincy of one of my staff, Zwandi White. It was also heartening to see netball back. You know, I went and I forget, it's not the same excitement. It's been out so long, I nearly forget how it went. But it's back. And we are hoping that we'll get back to the days when we had some really stiff, good teams and competition. MSS was against MCC, MSS won. But it was heartening to see netball back as a sport. The library, those services will continue. They're looking at in developing the archive some more because we really need to archive and to maintain and digitize a lot of things for the org as well for the future. They continue their rollout programs such as summer reading, homework help, bring that and come, Easter reading camp. And I will report here that within this quarter, I expect that the library will move to its new headquarters just a little away from it, and it will be updated, and hopefully one of the things we spoke about, maybe we can look at the internet cafe so that they can in fact start raising some of their own funds. We all have to chip in to raise funds. Ecclesiastic affairs, there's not a lot under that really, except we help wherever we can for that. And the Christian Council sits on many boards around here. And also last year we have put on the National Day of Prayer and Thanksgiving, which was well attended, and we are expecting that will be put as one of the holidays, a national holiday, that we would stop and give God his due, because according to our motto, the Montserrat motto, it says, a people of excellence, molded by nature, nurtured by God, so that we give God his rightful place. We find time for everything, and I'm saying that because every time we have the prayer and fast, there's always somebody why we're going to have it. We have holidays for everything else. If it's cricket, if it's sports, we have holidays. But we do not want to give God his due. Madam Speaker, I will now look at the Ministry of Health and Social Services. The budget of the year was $23,206,000. We spent $22,954,823, or 99.31% of the budget. So again, Madam Speaker, no money here to go back. No money here to go back. You give us money, we spend it. Of course, we would like to have more money to spend and give more money to people and help more people, especially those single mothers with 5 children and so. We would like to help them more. But, Madam Speaker, we have to live within the framework we have. Madam Speaker, the pandemic came and left us more alert of what can happen within minutes or less. The Ministry of Health and Social Services continues to supply much needed help to those in need. I am not saying we supply all, because the only place I think I've read is in the Bible says, my God shall supply all my needs. It never said that government can supply all our needs. So while we do our best, the Lord will provide. And he has been providing for us here in this country for a long time. And we need to be more thankful, because God has been good to us. Environmental health. Well, they continue to keep us safe from the mosquitoes with the dengue and whatever other airborne diseases they carry. So they have done some work, and they were able to eradicate the mosquito in 7 areas, which was their cycle. So we noticed that during the pandemic, there was the dengue had surfaced a little bit. But they are keeping it under control, so they have that. They have done some. You see, everywhere you turn now, you notice that people are setting up food stalls everywhere. So they have been doing some safety inspection. They did about 61 of those. They did some food training for 6 food handlers. And the port authority where they check in is always there. Maintenance of the cemeteries and the landfill sites are carried out. You will note if you're passing, whenever you pass Carsby, that the old graveyard there that the trees are cut down, we tend to fence it and plant trees in it and beautify it and keep it intact. The Salem, that is already in train and started. The Salem Cemetery will be reopened, so that if you've been to Lookout very recently, you will notice how fast it has been filled. It means that every day, according to the song, souls are still passing away. And every day, somebody is passing every day. So, Salem will be open for now. We have a committee now looking at the Lookout development to take some more of the lands there. And along with just for burial is to do a project for a crematorium or mausoleum, so that you can go up if you can't go down. And if you have a crematorium and you do the ash, it will take up less space than all the coffins we have. If you notice when you go there, there's a little part where you see some small graves. I believe those might be some places that some ash has been stored. So we are looking forward to that. They are working on it. The survey was out. They should get, so at least we could start the first phase of extending the area, and we're working along with my good friend here from agriculture so that the lands there could be entrusted to us and the people for the future, because they're not coming back now, they're going to be there for a while. They will pay, because you see, and they have money out of this world that they can pay. Plus, we are going to start looking at within the communities if there's any land that one can identify that can be used for cemeteries. Because all the cemeteries, even the church ones, are being filled up. Madam Speaker, I was just looking at the sports, the organizations that we give subventions to. Because too often, and I wanted to touch on sports since I was dealing with it, is that we do give them money on a quarterly basis, and when some of the people are going away, we actually give them other monies to assist them. Sometimes they behave as if no monies are given, but I'll let my learned friend would speak some more to that. All right. So that was environmental health. The department also played a sterling role during the pandemic. And I'm going to talk a little about the pandemic as well, because I think sometimes we have lost sight of where we've come from. And that department, along with Primary Division, did a sterling job. And the only people that don't seem to appreciate is some of us in Montserrat. Every other country you go, they were quite amazed at how a little country like that could have handled the pandemic. The very orders that we made, some of the other Caribbean countries, it was our order they copied to make theirs. And I want to say thank you to the Primary Division and the Environment for all the work they've done. Of course, the police and all, police and defense force and all the other agencies of government who were there have to be congratulated that we as a people were able to keep it under check. We might have had a lot of cases at one time, 3 deaths or something to that nature, but we are glad that we were able to do that. So, and the doctors and all the people. So we want to thank them again. Social services. Social services, they continue to do what it was set up to do. You had a lot of referrals. I'll just do like a quarter. One, the quarters, I think they had about 115 referrals, 104 persons received public assistance, and there are a number of other people that would have benefited. The medical one, of course, you know, that one, which takes quite a bit of the money. I know in this quarter 3, at least 21 persons benefited from it. Now, there's a national policy that was passed by Cabinet for older people, 2022 to 2026. And that is being worked out so that we could look at how exactly, within that policy, it shows how we are going to look after our elderly. They have done their work for Montserrat, and we need to deal with them and treat them well. And so that is going to be rolled out, and as we go along, whatever money is not in the budget, wherever we can find, we find money to continue that project. Now, there was introduction of child safeguarding and child protection. Some training was done, and some 60 teachers were trained in that, so that we understand that we have to keep the children safe, and therefore that is being done. You know, the domestic violence bill was passed sometime since we're here, after a roller coaster ride in this house. We passed it, and now they had some training as to how to deal with safeguarding for domestic violence as well. Going forward, They're presently the social looking at a policy on disability to be developed so that we can start dealing with disabled people in this country properly. It has been ad hoc, most of what we've been doing, but we have to put it in a policy because most of the times, Madam Speaker, if there's no policy or framework in place, you cannot ask donor agents or anybody for anything. Once you start asking, either if your laws are antiquated, they ask you to bring your laws out of place. If you don't have policies, they ask you to get that first. So they have a framework in which to work. And more often than not, they have to present these frameworks to the auditors at the end of the day. We're also looking at reviewing the mental health policy, because mental health is not like for some of us from our era might have seen it as just what the word that you can't use these days, say that people are crazy. Although, when I look back in time, there were those who said that they had a nervous breakdown or a mental breakdown. They weren't always called crazy. They were saying they meant. So now we have to look at that policy and how we can deal with them. Psychiatry in this area, in this region, don't seem to have a lot of psychiatrists. You have a lot of, psychologists. And so what we have been doing, and I noticed that Anguilla and Tortola and them pretty much doing the same because they can't get a psychiatrist to be coming on a regular basis. So they've been doing virtual psychiatry. Of course, the ideal thing would be that you want them in place. But I know over the years, since when we were in government last, when we had Dr. Benjamin, I think it was from Dominica, one of the reasons why he did visits, he had a number of visits, is because they said there was not enough. At that time, earlier, we remember we had a whole country and more people. They did not have enough for them to be a station here altogether. So we are looking at that and how we can supplement. We are doing the virtual part now, and we'll have the psychiatrists to come in from time to time. Also, there's some research being done on this big word here, recidivism. I've never seen it before, recidivism. It's a lovely word. All it means the tendency of convicted persons to offend very soon after their things. So we want to see those people who are repeat offenders, how we can help them to relive in society properly, because sometimes you just let them out and next minute they're back in because nobody bothers. So that is one of the things. But I like the word recidivism, in case you all never heard it before. Now that takes me to hospital and healthcare, primary health. Primary care, of course, they do the annual school assessments for all schools, and these were completed. Some 159 were assessed by medical and dental and the nursing staff. Mental client health has seen and reported to be functioning moderately well. We understand, if you go back in time, as far as I could go, when they used to just meet you and give you an injection, all that has to change. You have to talk, and that has changed over the years. And we're trying to go further so that we can, in fact, look after those who might have fallen through the crack. We are the Talking Health. We had the radio program, and they had several topics as how to know what is about monkeypox, avoiding health-related disease, and that program continues. And we should listen to it because sometimes some disease you may have or your family may be featured, so you understand how to deal with them, and they have been doing quite a good job of bringing those every week. You have Talking Health on some topic or the other. We need to pay attention to them. Sometimes we say that we don't hear from the ministries, but you have programs that people don't worry to listen to. The dental unit, Summer Smiles, some 21 third formers benefit from that. The community-based health screening opportunity hosted at Braids, some 66% benefited. Their wealth, their weight, their height, their blood pressure, their glucose levels, all those were checked. So that reach out program, so that work is being done constantly. And because it's a service ministry, and there's not buildings and roads to see, people tend to forget that a lot of work is being done by the Ministry of Education and Health. Now, some 76 staff were trained in basic life support. Those were nurses, doctors, and orderlies. And all the medical staff in the ministry were trained by the American University of Antigua. And they actually had to do an exam for and that one was for the advanced cardiac life support. So that we constantly training people so that whatever pops up, they can deal with them. So we are keeping up to date. Then we had a visit from the Guadeloupe healthcare team, because from time to time we have sent people to Guadeloupe. And so we're trying to build a stronger relationship with them. And so they visit here, they came on their own, and we just hosted them, and we're hoping that some more fruit will come out of that. At least you know people now, so you can pick up the phone, you can call somebody if there's an emergency. And we had one emergency, I think it was late last year, and because of that connection, you were able to get them through easier than before. Now, though the ministries are a service ministry, from time to time we do provide a few jobs. And some of these were like painting Oral Villa. If you pass up there, you know, Oral Villa also got a facelift. And painting and plumbing and repairs, internal cupboards. So there's some work was done. Some people benefited. And they replaced the internal furniture. Codred Clinic was also renovated to accommodate family nurse practitioner. And some work was done on St. John Clinic. The roof is still bad, and we are now looking in this fiscal year to do some serious work on that roof, because we cannot allow our main clinic to really be under disrepair. Now, Madam Speaker, I am also pleased to announce that the property known as Harrisville, adjacent to the Glendon Hospital, have been purchased, and it is now the property of the government of Montserrat. You say, Madam Speaker, it was vacant while others were there. But I got involved as well. I just want to give myself a few kudos there for involved for well to ensure that we got that property. Because you see, right below it, Madam Speaker, there's a lot that belongs to government. And below that, another lot. There's really no access unless you go through the hospital to get to them. So with that, it opens up that, and you have lands that you can develop. And for those who may talk about the hospital, which I'll talk about later, we have lands that we could do more development down the road. Madam Speaker, I'm also pleased to announce, and it would have been on the airwaves, that while we are looking at the hospital development, we are also concerned about the care and the soft side of things. And so, a lot of monies are expended sending people to Antigua for CT scan. Now we have a CT scan being built, and it will reach here hopefully by July, August. We are going to set it up before the hospital so that we can have this service here. And those money that has been hemorrhaged into Antigua, we can use those monies to do some of the other things that we need to do. Also, a mammogram is already on island, and that is being, the space for it is being retrofitted to fit it. So now our women won't have to go to Antigua. I think it costs them $1,000 or something. That again would be money in their pocket, so they don't have to. So we are doing things, and there are a number of other aspects that have been done. Plus, we have an agreement with Telemedicine's SOS since July 8th last year to provide advice on the wide range of services. Madam Speaker, with the CT scan and the mammogram, it would make the work of these telemedicine operators easier because they can then interpret what we produce, so you don't have to be flying people all over the world for that. And we are thankful. So you have radiology, cardiology, neurology, orthopedics, oncology, renal physician, specialists, and etc. would be on hand from the telemedicine. I remember the fiber optics that was put in, that we finalized, the fiber optics that we finalized and coming here. We started it then, and we came in back in to finalize it and give it to the homes and all that. That it is in the hospitals so that they could do telemedicine. We are going to continue the visiting specialists. So far, the year under review, we had a speech and language therapist. We had obstetric and gynecology doctors coming in as specialists. Because as I said earlier, we really cannot afford, while you hear people talk about the hospitals, we cannot afford these specialists to come to Montserrat. They won't have any work to do after 1 month. So while we could have them from time to time, we have some of these specialists going on. So we're going to continue that program, and hopefully that will include ophthalmologists and all those things, because especially with the diabetes, there are a lot of people who have eye problems. So we need to go. Some don't have any diabetes, they just simply have eye problems. They can't see what they read. Current services include, and I just want to spell out, because sometimes when I listen to the radio, and I listen to all kinds of groupings, and people send me things from Facebook, I wonder if they think that we are living in trees still, and that we have some bush doctor, some quack doctor doing things here. So the nurses clinic, you have antenatal, postnatal clinics, child welfare clinics, chronic disease clinic for the hypertension and diabetes, family planning, immunization. When you get cut up, the wound care, home visit, because they still visit homes, mental health services, clinical psychology, mental health nursing. And let me say, since I'm about mental health nursing, remember we lost our mental health nurse a while ago. Because you have a mental health nurse, but one, you see, over the years, you had Nurse White who passed, and she was able to diagnose and actually give medication, because they were trained as nurses first and then mental. We have a psychiatric nurse who is not that fully, but we need to get back, which we are going to advertise for. One like, for blessed memory, Mrs. Thompson. And we need to get that back, so that, because what happened over the years, is that while the psychiatrist can't come, it was that person who was really prescribing the medicines, and not when the person comes, it was oversee and make sure things are in order. And they would call and all. So we need to get back that link, and that is being advertised. It would be advertised shortly. Now I'm also pleased, Madam Speaker, to announce that whereas in the past we had four referrals that we could have sent to the UK, we now have 10. We have 10 for medical reference. It's only 6, but it's a lot. Given our population, it's a lot. However, there are some provisos that if the other DTs don't need these that we need, we can also get those. So there's a good, it has a little more to it than just the basics, which we are glad for. I am also pleased that with all the nurses, you remember they were up there striking or whatever they said they were doing. And we carried up their sessions from $150 to $300. And there's more to come, which I'll talk about later. Services for the future then. All the above would be there, and this is just primary health care. And then we want to introduce there is a health information system that is being done, where all the records are being digitized, so that when you go to one clinic, rather than you have to be walking with a paper or trying to remember what medication you're on, it will all come up in whichever clinic you're. We are still, and it also means that you will then need to make sure you make it. Don't just roll up. Make your appointment wherever your clinic is. is best. Or, you know, it's a system that we like just rolling up, it's not casualty. So when you roll, or if you're going to Salem all the time, go to Salem. We still expect you to do a bit there because the information will be there. But for adventure, there's an emergency. We expect that you can access it wherever you are. But still you'll have maybe appointments and all that to go. Now we'll introduce ECG. Hopefully we'll introduce ECG at the hospitals. And the restart, as I said earlier, of the specialists, we're looking at ophthalmology, cardiology, urology, and psychiatry. We're looking at some of those as visiting specialists. And of course, radiology and endoscopic surgery, because we have the equipment, and we're expecting now that if you have one of these specialists, they can do the operation here rather than you have to always go to Antigua. So we are doing all that to cut back on some of the monies that we are spending outside. Additionally, with the CT scan, we can have more diagnostic services. And that is why it's important to have it. So that instead of having to go to Antigua to find out what you have, you could find out here. So if you have to go to further field, rather than going Antigua and then have to come back to go somewhere else, you can keep going because you would have known what it is and wherever you want to go. Now, Madam Speaker, the hospital. The hospital project. A hospital project, and money for it was there since before 2019. A hospital should have been built. I should have only been dealing with a wing to a hospital now, at the most. But alas, Madam Speaker, and I'll talk about that later. Yes, I'm going to talk about this hospital, even later again. But I want to say, Madam Speaker, here, that in developing the hospital project, because one of the things that shocked me when I went in, and I noticed there was, what do they call it, design, preliminary design for hospital. You know, I was in government before, since 91. I know that if you ask somebody to design something, you ask them for 100%, but in the document you state, I need to see it by 25%, 50%, 75%. I've never seen anybody settle to have a preliminary design and then have to go back out to ask for tenders for the full design. Anyway, lucky for us, we had to do that and we had to go through. And I'm saying when we tried to do it single source, we had, and our very local people and the board thought it fit for us to go back out. Sometimes we are our worst enemy. But we got you. Because what would have happened, we would have been 2 years behind. We lost 6 months just to get that going. Because whoever you got, if you got somebody new, were under no obligation really to use, and they could have reviewed it and take 6 months to review what was there rather than building on it. Thankfully, we have passed that stage. Also, I want to point out here, Madam Speaker, that during that whole development, we had the input of those who spoke to Article 25 in the forums we had in Montserrat, those who sent notes, asked questions, and they're hiding behind all kind of writing all over as if they didn't talk to Article 25, as if they didn't send information and ask for information. They, the locals and the diaspora, we had the expertise advice of UKHS England, UK Health Department, PAHO, NHS, WHO, NHS Improvement, FCDO, PMO office, and of course the general health staff. One of the things we ensured, because too often we build things and we come up with policies, and the people who have to work in it are never part of it. And that's why you always fought with all kinds of problems. Because if they weren't part of it, then may not be so inclined to this. So we had the Article 25 come back, the rooms, the maids, the cleaners, the cooks, everybody had a say in what and how they would like to see the room they are going to work in. All of that was done. So when you hear talk about Article 25 is leading as if nobody else is there, it is a lot of cracks. Because we get people to do that understand. Furthermore, it is hospital architects who are building it. Article 25 might be a company, but they're buying the service of hospital architects. Not just any architect. Because a lot of architects around here want to tell you what you could do and what you can't do. And they never built no hospital yet. But they know how to think. They can't get even a house built properly. But they're going to build a hospital. Madam Speaker, the hospital project is pretty much on track. You'll always have your slippages here and there, and we are catering for those, but we are hoping that at least by September, October, that the contractor would have been in place. Because what we're doing in tandem is while we decant that things could start. Rather than one after the other, we are doing them at the same time, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, also, during next month, we're going to have the ITT for the oxygen generator and waste plant, because we also within this thing we have gotten funding to buy an oxygen generator. Because you know we have to go to Antigua to buy gas all the time. We have a little one here that somebody is doing, but it cannot really supply as much. So hospital needs to have the oxygen supply. So we have that. That's another addition. Because we're not waiting to the hospital build, you know, to do it. And then you have the incinerator will also be built. So all of those will be built between now and then. And Magasin ITT would have been out, and we should have see some work doing and refurbishing. Firstly, you're going to strengthen the roof and deal with the termites resolution, and then after we'll do the infrastructure. Mind you, Magasin will be retrofitted so that after the hospital build and everybody has moved back, Magasin will become back what it was for palliative care, and it will be close to the hospital, so you don't have to be running up and down when people sick. And the old people's policy will have all spoken to that, how you move people to the system. You may start at Lookout when you're able, then you might move to Golden Ear, whichever one, and then to Magasin when you reach that stage. But we have to look, it's still, you know, in train. But that's how we expect that people can be dealt with. Madam Speaker, so the hospital, all being well, I expect to see groundbreaking between November to March. Now we have some international obligations I wanted. That is in the budget speech. You have tax compliant laws, Caribbean Finance Action Task Force, Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD. All of these, Madam Speaker, these organizations are who monitor the financial world, including the Caribbean. And whether we like it or not, and whatever fuss we want to make, if we do not come compliant with those, our financial system is in jeopardy already. We do not have a real correspondent bank. And you have to be careful, because if you don't have that, it means you can't move money. And next thing, the same tax laws and the same OECD are going to say that you can't walk with cash. So it's a double-edged sword. So we have to look now at straightening out these, and I think there's some laws that will come. I think there's one on the thing there that we have just deferred. And it needs a little tweaking. But we expect that we're going to have to put it in place if we are to fit into all these other obligations. Because bear one thing in mind, the UN, all those, it is the UK, who is signatory, and we have to do so that they can answer to. Some of them are regional, and we have an issue because, you see, it's not only for Montserrat. It has implications for the EC dollar. And we have to recognize that. And I raise it because I think sometimes we lose the bigger picture in looking at what we have on ground. But maybe because of my own training in that field, I understand that if we don't have a correspondent bank, we are in between a rock and a hard place. It's not going to be easy. And people can't move their money around, we're in trouble. We are going to be in trouble. So I say that because when you hear those laws come, it may sound like we just want to do them. I don't agree with some of the things, but at the end of the day, the G7 man, the Caribbean car, whoever make them, because even if you have the FDCF, the Caribbean Financial Action Task Force, there is a financial action task force that's global, to which they must report. So it's not just about the region, it goes beyond to international. So we need to understand that those things have to be in place. Madam Speaker, having said all of that, we have been in government from 2019 November. And within, quite 3 months, the pandemic came upon us. And as I said earlier, we handled it well for a small country. And others have emulated us. And we need to appreciate what the Ministry of Health have done during that, all the people that work, and the police and everybody that was involved, and give them kudos for the work that was done, the border protection, everybody. But, Madam Speaker, lest we forget, and because I said earlier, it is silly time coming on, and I already hear something that the hospital is inadequate, the port inadequate, everything inadequate. But we shall remember 2014 with Red Up and Fed Up. We shall remember it. Because, Madam Speaker, I remember the people who are writing at length now on social media were the ones I have seen with my own eyes, sticking stickers all over the place. I've seen people who cheer, have enough to say now, but they presented us with this perfect red up and fed up. Every tree on every road was red. I came out one morning and I swear, what is it? Is this Egypt again? We want the plagues, the plague of the firstborn, the blood. I was looking next for the frogs and the flies. You know? Yeah, I'm going back because people have gone back to 1996 and 91 when I came here first. There are 5 years nobody wants to talk about. I call them the lost years. But they are there. And they will be talked about today. They will be talked about today. Lest we forget. Lest we forget. Lest we forget that 5 years that we hidden and we boast, we left monies, a promissory note. Because when we talk about the hospital, no, not only that. Not only that. When they were offered by a member of the FID a £6 million hospital, they were ready to go with. Oh yes, maybe you know me, you're in the ministry. And it went up a little to 9. When we get in, based on what money was there, we said, look, we're going to ring fence 15 million for the hospital because the hospital is important. I've actually heard on What's on Your Mind. Somebody said, we don't need a hospital. Somebody from the diaspora said, we don't need a hospital. Okay? That is the level of ignorance. And you have to watch this kind of ignorance again. And next thing you know, they might go on to stop the hospital. But this time I make sure he starts so he can't stop. You see, like the projects that I left at Public Works, my good friend continued them because he really couldn't stop them, and I know me LA, he didn't stop them either. No, he couldn't stop. The hospital was stopped because somebody was given $5 million to put in recurrent and kill a whole project. And then they up and on balling, but they didn't have a hospital. But lest we forget that 5 years. The other promissory note. We did a whole set of projects. And I'll talk about those things after this one. Lest we forget this shallow rhetoric, because really they never said they were going to do anything. PDM never said they were going to do nothing. They just said they read up and they fed up. They read up and they fed up. In fact, you could have put some music. Some people are dancing at this on stage to it. Lest you forget, Manshashans, the same people who were saying that and told you about social services money was not enough. It was under MCAP regime that we went from 600 to 900. And it's still standing. 5 years was between there. And every time the members come in and asking me to do a lot of things, you were there. Why you didn't do it? 5 years of nothingness. But let me take that back. They did some things. They did something. They gave 3%. Well, I am coming to that. That I have equated it, and I'll continue when I reach there. No, it doesn't matter if they come back. The people got it. That's all more important. I'm saying the best thing. The malt generation plant was finished. The building at least. There was some other matter that should have been dealt with, but perhaps my good friend did not have enough time to do them. But at least he continued, and we are now finished up all the way. The machine, I talk to one. Mind you, Madam Speaker, they bought a generator. They should have bought a slow speed one at the time. They buy one fast speed one. We are burn out. And thankfully, again, we are getting a proper generator. Because the building, Madam Speaker, was built to accommodate 2 generators. Oh, it's 3? Glad for the correction. I just want to see if you're listening. So, Madam Speaker, so they did at least that continued. Let me see what else I could say. God, I'm looking for the things that they actually did that were commendable. And I'm having problems. One, they made a hospital project. This is what they really did. They closed it. They met a Montserrat Development Corporation. They closed it. They were working. They closed it. They had a PIU. They closed it. Every other country one development corporation except Montserrat. We had one, and they closed it. You know, recently, my honorable friend had on the geothermal plant. And I was so pleased that the 2 wells that I dug, one of them is steaming still. You see, whatever I do lasts by the grace of God. I am glad. I heard a lot, and we've been doing all kinds about geothermal, but the wells, at least we know, it's still working. And what did my learned friends on the other side do? They dig one. They got the opportunity to do one teeny well, and they flunked it. Spend millions of dollars and abandon it. Because The first time I saw it, when I was taken here, and I saw the soil, sandy loam if you do any geography, I said to them, you know this is a blocking. That time a geologist was sitting in public works. And I am blaming the red up, fed up group. And so they dig, and when they take out the rod, everything falls back. As you were, Papa, as you were. Blank, my lord, blank. That's what they did. And they'll talk about the cost of the land next, when they buy, they pay for the land. They pay for the land, and I mean, so much so everybody else out here may try to carry a price for land. Well, it's government land. We could use it forever, a government land. Let me see what else you all did. The ICT. Madam Speaker, I got CTU to do a national ICT policy. Then we went to EU to get some funds, and it came out 2 million to implement it. And Madam Speaker, alas, the money got used up and the policy is still not implemented. We have to be here struggling to find money to implement it. Why? Because a whole set of people will give money. You know, when we did the ICT policy, ICT had meant in, what do ICT mean again? Tell me. Information, communication, technology. We get T-shirts for do. We get steel band for make. You get all kinds of things, and I've been trying to figure how it fits into information communication technology. And there's an audit report that I understand. That's what, so the whole 2 million, because see, I spoke earlier, Madam Speaker, about money is being used for the publicity of the funds, for the school thing. But I didn't normally, and they allocated £17,000 for that, I think it was. But Madam Speaker, the whole 2 million was allocated for that. The whole 2 million. And you know, you have studios, eh? You have a studios. I don't know if government you claim the equipment that will belong to government. Under the program, because the equipment belongs to the government. All kinds of things happen, Madam Speaker. So that is one they do, because they could have done. I'm sorry, I was so disappointed with my learned friend here. That under his watch, he allowed such a thing to happen. The leader of the opposition, if you please. No, the leader of the opposition. No, because the other leader of the opposition is not here. Let me see what else they did now. Ferry. And you notice all kinds of things unearthing about this access. But you know, my good friend, just throw your hand at the ear and say, let them take them. Take access if you want them now. The honorable member of parliament, who was then the honorable chief minister, took over access, grind them fine, and now he's trying now to fix that which was working and he has broken. He's trying now to fix it. I applaud him for that. At least he's trying. Minimum wage, which I don't know, maybe minimum wage will be spoken to somewhere. Minimum wage. You know, during my tenure as Labour Minister, I put some people on the board to look at minimum wage. And I didn't get too well with it, because all the people were talking, you know. In my school days, they had a story said to bell, how the rats decide how they could bell the cats so they know when he's coming. So every time they talk out against me, me put them on the board. Nothing happened. Nothing. Blank, my lord. Blank. Anyway, the honorable leader of the opposition, to his credit, started it again, that we're trying. And he got back the report, Madam Speaker, before the election. But he's smart. He never put him through. Because, Madam Speaker, I had it there and I keep saying, at this stage and you do a minimum wage with the way people, merchants behave, some people are going to lose their job. Because they're going to try to get as little as possible out of it. And he's smart. I have to give them credit for that. Because they say, all right, NCAP like to pass law. So let them pass a 1 year too. Port venture, we were to get work. But we shall not forget. We shall remember. Because we are looking at it. We change the law so that you can incorporate that now. And I hope, Madam Speaker, those who are the scribes outside the house are listening so they could scribe properly. You have to miss him. No, Madam Speaker, if you look through this window, you see a certain plot of land that used to be Piper's Pond. And it was going to be dug up. It was going to be stopped. Now you see how handy coming, people park, they have even fets on it. And we will get a little wharf down there, ultimately. But there were some people in this honorable house, Madam Speaker, who said they don't want no Arab dollars. So let the Arab then take their money and go. No, because if you tell them to take their money and go, that's exactly what they did, the Honorable Claude Hogan. So he spoke to that, and they have left. One thing, other countries glad to sweep them up when I throw them aside. Glad to sweep them up. You can't go for them now. Anyway, Madam Speaker, that is some of what, because some people think they're going to innocently get away with something. You like when you're talking about the honorable opposition leader. He do his share too. Crusade of corruption. Oh, and then of course there was a crusade of corruption. I understand even some of my friends on the other side, I empathize with them, Madam Speaker, because they were thrown under the bus, that they too were corrupt. But at some meeting in the UK, when they were thrown, the question was asked, aren't you also corrupt? And from that to now, there's a campaign, a Macedonian call against the British. Madam Speaker, there were several actual reports on Social Security. And my friends did nothing to save it. And when we came here trying to save it, they had enough to say. Again, that is the only safety net that some folks on Montserrat have. That little check. It may be simple, but that they have it. And that is why this MCAP-led administration is ensuring that we keep Social Security alive and well. Madam Speaker, you know, amidst all of that, we came in. The pandemic hit us. And for the first 2 years of our administration, we had to deal with coronavirus. But in spite of that, and during that time, we built the airport tower. Or the head for it was there, and they need a building to put it on. So we built that. During that time, some roads were built. And I like to give Jackie jacket. The honorable member did some roads as well. Part of Mars Hill. And we finished the Mars Hill Road. The minister finished Mars Hill Road. And Bazi's. He also did at Bazi's, Madam Speaker. I give Jack his jacket. And Fritz. So, something was done. But I always say, Madam Speaker, that when he won, I spoke to him about making sure, and I have to say that he was quite obedient. He made sure that he continued these projects. And I'm thankful, and we have continued, because government is continuing. We have continued the projects that we made, the little roads and okay. Then the fiber optics was completed, and we found money so that we could have at least put fiber optics to within 4 years. Within 4 years, all those so far has been done. In a pandemic, let us not forget, it was normal times. Had it been normal times, you could imagine what we would have done? You see, Madam Speaker, during the pandemic, my friend, my learned agricultural friend, saw the wisdom since people were locked in. Since they couldn't go to the farm, he brought the farm to them. He got criticized for it. But during that time when they got, some people said, why are you giving them topsoil for? But during that time, box to put it in on topsoil, a lot of vegetables were produced. Since we come back out, the boxes are there laying waste. Suddenly people forget how to do anything. Go back and utilize the boxes you get. That was a bold move, knowing that you're going to be criticized. People government are giving us more. We do what we have to do for the people of Montserrat. Yes. That's what we did. Now, Madam Speaker, we need to teach. The saying says, give a man a fish, you feed him for the day. Teach him to fish, and you feed him for life. And that's what the young man was portraying. If I give you and you can plant, you can feed yourself. But somewhere we lost it. You know, there's a lot of animals around, Madam Speaker. We have a lot of iguanas and agoutis and wild yard fowl. And maybe we need to really have a program as to call them and do something about them rather than just killing them and throwing them away. In other countries, those are good meat to eat. And they're still good meat right there, because we ate every one of them before as a people. We ate agouti since I grew up, we eating agouti. And iguana. And not about yard fowl. Because nothing tastes better in a soup than yard fowl. And then you have the animals on the other side that are destroying the terrain, the feral animals. And Madam Speaker, I am hoping that the Honourable Minister will get some tranquilizer guns so he could keep some of these animals at bay. Because they're all around. The animal, yeah. No, but maybe the feral animals, because plenty of them around. They need to be tranquilized. Me said the feral animals are around. They need to be tranquilized. Say whatever you want. Now, during the pandemic, when the rest of the region was wondering where they could get money from, twice Montserrat has given its people money to help through the British funds. It wasn't easy, but we got through it. At first, when we got in, people was comparing us with Antigua. And Gaston do this and that. But after, when they were hearing the money of them, here, suddenly there's a lull in that. Because we have held our own and we have helped the people. You see, Madam Speaker, behind every dark cloud is a silver lining. And because of the pandemic, like the volcano before, like Hugo before, there's always benefits to be had. Because before, the hospital didn't have any testing machines. When we wrote it up, I'll tell you something. When they told me they said they modeled during the pandemic that maybe 3/4 of us probably would have caught the marijuana and a host of us would have died. So to submit a list, and we submit a list that range from ambulance, fire truck, name it, it was on, it come up with 12 million US dollars. And they thought we were too ambitious. But if you get a modeling said that most of the people are going affected, you have to make sure you're in a good place. So I'm thankful now after all of that, we are getting some of the very same things that's on the list. We got some during the pandemic, so we were able to do our own testing here. And I'm thankful for that. You see, no ill wind really blows. The new port project is on its way. And again, we hear them saying to stop the port project because it doesn't have breakwater. Sometimes I'm really not sure if people understand what a breakwater is. My travels, the breakwater is out there and the jetty is in here. So you break the water so it doesn't come over the jetty. I don't know if we understand the depth of the water to break water. If we take the whole budget, what money we have for the port and some more, just to put a breakwater, if it's going to be a meaningful breakwater. And so, Madam Speaker, some of the same people who was quite happy to change the port development we had at Cards Bay to include Piper's Pond were happy to go up to Little Bay under the cliff. And I heard the statement that Cards Bay is on open waters. But if my memory serves me well, Port Plymouth was on open water. So much so that the building was built that when it got rough, the waters flow under, inside the building. Maybe some of us don't remember. Might be too young. But that's what happened. I remember I was part of building the new port in there. So I have some knowledge of ports too, and jetty. And we didn't have any breakwater in Plymouth. And whenever the seas came from the Venezuela end, trust me, they tear up every beach coming that side, including Barton Bay. Madam Speaker, so we are building the port and we hear much about it. But lest we forget, we had an opening for the ports when we were going to break ground or water. We did, as MCAP. And now we are seeing the proof that we're going to have a port. Needless to say, Madam Speaker, there was a time when there was a grand break-in before by my good friend. I was invited and I went. And I thought, Madam Speaker, by now, I expect by now, the port would have been in place. But alas, there was not enough money to do it. But they had a grand opening. I have to give them that much. And we're still struggling with all kinds of things. The land is still in dispute above. All kinds of things going on. But at least they tried. Camouflage, the political camouflage all the time, as if things are done. Lest we forget. So when they come back, they start on the Holy Saturday night to say all what, and they say the hospital is inadequate. Because the grouping was there. And sometimes when people invite you some things, if you're not part of them, no go. Once you go, you're named among them. And so, the hospital is going, we're doing the soft side along with the building. One thing is when we got there, I said, look, there was a push, there was the same push they had with the former minister, is that we have to do all these soft things. And so the money, I said, I want a building, because you can't put the machine in a tree. Give me my building and we work out the instrument. And look how the Lord has been good to us. The instrument, them come one by one, two by two. Yeah. So when because some will come with the hospital, but others, Madam Speaker, the same thing with the port. We got some more money to build the port, but I'll leave that to you. L&M has been there because remember that the school was abandoned. It was closed and should not have been built. But we managed to get it up and running and it's going. Salem Community Center will be renovated. The Social Security law, that needs to change in some aspects. We have to look forward to doing that. The domestic bill, violence bill was passed. And of course, I spoke about the geothermal already. That's there. And we are now looking again at how we could integrate all that. I'll leave that to the minister. And now, Madam Speaker, I mentioned earlier that one of the things that the government did back in the day, they gave 3%, which was deducted from the pocket. Yes, the people got it, but the rest of the ministry suffered. Now, I want to say that because, yes, they got it, but they don't understand that a lot of the services got cut because of it. Now we are giving 3% this time. There's a 7% somewhere that somebody asked. And we are looking at it in stages. For this year, we could manage 3. We are giving 3. So we are at par. And prior to that, in the years before 2014, we gave a 1 salary bonus, which is more than 3% at any time. You get a whole salary. It will take you about 3 years to get the same thing with some salaries. So when they say we didn't give anything, we did. And then there's these anomalies that needed to be fixed. And I understand they fixed the teachers and the nurses and the police. Those were the 3 main ones, and those have been fixed. So some people will get more than the 3% because of that change and that shift. Also, we have removed the low scales for now because we are still looking at doing a poverty assessment to see exactly where the poverty line is. But meanwhile, because we have the people on our minds, we are ensuring they can carry home a little more money. So a lot of people will now carry home up to 26% more than what they had. So it's not just 3% for the bottom scale, they will get some and get up to 26%. For the anomalies, some people get even up in the 30s% because of how low they were, equating across the system. So those are the teachers, all that will be fixed. So in the theme says, building a stronger Montserrat together, a vision and a roadmap for posterity. So, Madam Speaker, you see we are laying the foundation that somewhere things get better, people will get more to work for, and therein lies your prosperity. They can build, they can buy more things. Therein, everybody's not going to be a millionaire. That's not what we're aiming at. Madam Speaker, one of the stanzas of the national song says, we sing our land in harmony. May God be her eternal God, and make Montserrat a house of hope, a heaven in the Caribbean Sea. Madam Speaker, any force, anyone, anything that seeks to destroy this harmony should and must be stopped. Because Montserrat is bigger than you and I. So anybody, whether they're writing or whatever means they use to stop people from coming to Montserrat, stopping people from coming to Montserrat. I was at the gas station one day and an old gentleman came up to me and he said, you need to talk to me. I said, about what? He said, look, I had a friend coming here from the US who said that they almost didn't come because they were listening to the radio program. That is the effect Yes, it's all nice for the entertainment for us. But if I am outside Montserrat and I hear that everybody here fight one another and I pull down one another and all of that, why would I come here and bring my money? We have to be careful. Nothing is wrong with freedom of speech. But freedom of speech must also understand that if you destroy your country, that is wrong too. Now, most people don't want to talk about those things and they get all carried away about it. But I like freedom of speech. But there is some responsibility. We cannot and must not continue to be like those we just celebrated St. Patrick's, like those who sold out in 1768 and caused a set of people to be hanged. Let us, as Montserratians and as members of this House, ensure that whatever we do, it must be about Montserrat and the people of Montserrat, and not just for political gains. Not just for political gains. Madam Speaker, I am heartened to see that some opposition members have joined us for a while now. As I said in the early that they weren't here, I just want to let the public know that they have arrived. They have arrived. They are now doing the people's business, what they are being paid for. They have arrived. I said, you have arrived. Not just now, a little before. But you weren't here when I started. And I need the people to know, correct that, so I don't want them to get the impression that you all didn't come. And you see, I'm a fair person. I'm giving you what belongs to you. So, Madam Speaker, with that, I rest.
I recognize the Honorable Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and a very good morning to this Honorable House. Just before Miss Gillette called me, as she always does when we are to appear in this House, to tell us whether the waters will be rough or whether they will be calm, I reflected on my own mother, who always said, with God, all things are possible. But after that call, the scripture of Joshua 5:13 dropped into my spirit. Joshua was near Jericho. He looked up and saw a man with a sword, drawn in hand. Joshua went up to him and asked, "Are you for us or for our enemies?" "Neither," he replied, "but as commander of the Lord, I have now come." Madam Speaker, my honorable friend has already given you some figures, and so I would not prolong our debates with figures. But to say, lest we forget, in Salem, when many said there was no money, I said, once there is money, or when money comes, we will spend it. And Madam Speaker, we spent it. And I'm provided, Madam Speaker, with some figures. 2019-2020, we spent 97.75% of our budget in the Ministry of Health and Social Services. 2021, 98.70% of that budget. And 2022 to 2023, 99.82% of our budget. Madam Speaker, 2022 to 2023, 99.3% of our budget. Wherever money is, when we find it, whether it was there or not, lest we forget, I said we would spend it, and we would spend it come high or low. And we would ask, Father God, to ring what hand he needs to ring for the monies to come, because we have paid for it many centuries ago. Lest we forget, the Ministry of Health and Social Services was particularly challenged, but remains resilient in the past fiscal year and continues on its transformative path of building resiliency within the system, as well as to ensure that our approaches are robust, integrated, and equitable. We embark, Madam Speaker, on the new financial year. Our theme, as presented by the Honorable Premier, building a stronger Montserrat together, a vision and roadmap for prosperity. The theme for budget year, challenge us 2022 to 2023, to secure our future, our Montserrat, our people. And I have not forgotten that theme. It has never left me and will continue to travel with me until I see a better Montserrat for a people well deserving of it. And so the Ministry of Health and Social Services embrace the challenges with confidence in the capacity of our people, courage, commitment to learn, to work hard as we always do, in partnership with DFCDO, other ministries, partner organizations, to carry forward this theme and the national vision of a healthy, wholesome, and prosperous Montserrat with a friendly community, modern economy in which each individual can fulfill their dream through initiative and industry in a truly democratic society under God. To this end, Madam Speaker, the ministry continued on its transformative path and developed a prioritized strategy, a strategy to redesign care services, incorporating care technology to create a learning health system and culture that generates knowledge to improve population health and operational accountability. We do not misspend people's money, we account for it as so well we account for our time. So our health transformation pivoted its focus on 4 core areas: financial sustainability, workforce strengthening, health information technology, and quality safety experience, as they call it, QSE. The new National Hospital, we can perhaps say, is our flagship. Our people's health is their wealth. And so the government of Montserrat and the FCDO continue to work in Parliament to deliver a new national hospital for the people of this island. I am pleased to report that during the last financial year, Article 25, the company which prepared the preliminary design was awarded the contract to undertake detailed design for the construction of this new 24-bed hospital on the current Glendon Hospital site, as the Honourable Minister would have shared. Although 25 beds, Madam Speaker, the design is so ingenious and innovative, it can extend to 31 beds during peak time. We've set some milestones, but of course, Madam Speaker, as we know with construction, things can change. With milestone 1 already in place, we're now at milestone 2, and we anticipate that the detailed design will be completed by the end of this April 2023. Our milestone 3 anticipates, Madam Speaker, or comprises of specific floor plans for each room of the hospital, a structural, mechanical, electrical, plumbing specification for all buildings on site, along with the physical planning application, which should be completed by June 2023. The need to ensure that our citizens of this island and visitors too, to access not only a new fit-for-purpose hospital after having been occupying the St. John's School for 25 plus years remains a priority for this government. As such, Cabinet and CPREG have agreed to accelerate and speed up the construction phase. You have already heard we have bought the property adjacent to the current hospital site, and we will continue to bring forward early site works, condensing the construction phase into one-phase design construction. Madam Speaker, my government remains resolute. This project is a priority, it is paramount, and a necessary pillar in the development and building of our country, Montserrat, to secure our future, our Montserrat, our health, which is our wealth, and our economy. We will continue to work assiduously to meet all timelines. Moreover, it is important that the people of Montserrat are not left out, but be able to follow the progress of this critical construction project. So, Madam Speaker, I anticipate that they will be well informed as we travel along, because we have promised we will be transparent and we will speak to you, Madam Speaker. And I know that the people of Montserrat, they hear our civil servants, but they want to hear our voices. Because I marvel sometimes they say I don't speak, but somebody's going to tell me, Mom, I heard you on the radio and you sound nice. But maybe, not maybe, I need to speak more, as one have said. And the Honorable Leader of the Opposition says, that would be nice. He has been my friend for many years, Madam Speaker, and I can assure you he will continue to be such. I need his mother to continue to pray for me while mine rest in eternity. Madam Speaker, a preferred main construction contractor will be selected and appointed to commence construction deployment by September 2023, ahead of the Christmas holidays. No doubt, some form of employment will emerge as the canteen, moving of the various support services, pharmacy, and lab from hospital site to the Maxim Memorial Building will occur simultaneously. These services will occupy that space for 2 years while we demolish and remove other containers. Between October to December 2023, Madam Speaker, there has been much said about the hospital and whether it will come to fruition. But based on the timelines, it is clear that much work has been done and will be done between that period. And I started with Mommy, and she has always said, make room for disappointment, weather and God, but with God, all things are possible. Our future looks bright. A lot of work is there to be done, but we propose, Madam Speaker, that by 2025 at least, and Minister always says, promise little and deliver much. But to give an idea, because we are doing it together. We said together we can. And my husband can't come in my house and decide to do what he like, and I don't know. Because maybe we should visit an attorney or the pastor before that. So, we are bringing you into the decision making and the discussion and the decision making. Growing up, the older people would have their small houses, and they didn't wait till they got the big house to buy the fridge, the stove, the mashed plate and glass, and don't talk about the nice bedspread. And those who like cars, especially the younger ones, many will buy their banger, put in the music and the rims. And when they get the new one, you just move it. You just slide in. And that is what we're doing, Madam Speaker, with the preparation of getting the softer infrastructure in place. So, as you have heard, the health system's transformation is in place, or we're working on it. Let me be careful with my language. This is an era of technology and digitization, and we're getting ready. In fact, we have already been ready with our fiber. But may I just put in here, Madam Speaker, for the people while I'm talking about fiber, I may just forget. My fiber is not working good, so Dr. Sammy needs to sort that out. And on top of that, they charge me more money than tell me, Veronica K. Dorset Hector, that I must now go and buy extender and pay more money per month. Dr. Sammy, sort it out. Sort it out. So, we have invested by the introduction of health information system. We are going to utilize technology advancement to improve our efficiency in allowing any medical staff to access patient records at the point of care. So wherever you come in, we can access your records. And wherever they enter the system, we will find you. It will be seamless. With the progression of this new hospital, the health information system is going to prove beneficial in managing our patient records. And we will also be able to do some billing. Yes, we must pay something for our services. We also will get data and statistics to learn, assess, evaluate, monitor through our electronic data. No running for the book, no making any business case, and there is no data. Nurse, doctors, pharmacy, whoever seen you, do not need to run down to casualty to get your file. Call Salem and ask what medication they gave you or prescribed wrong medication because you're allergic. No more of that, I pray. It will be there on the computer system. Madam Speaker, we are stronger together. So as I said, Dr. Sammy made sure we had fiber so that we can get that going. And we also have solar just in case the generator goes down. My information would be there. Miss Sarah, Mas John, all our visitor, friend, and foe alike. And please get the terminology right. When you're going, you don't say you're going to Salem Clinic. You are now going to the health center. We're moving up. We're moving up. We go to the health center, and we will have particular clinics, as you've heard before. Training, Madam Speaker, is imperative. And it will be continuous to ensure proper management of our patient records. All is not well, but things are happening, and we give thanks. Madam Speaker, significant progress, I am told, have been made with the digitization of the paper-based records of our patients at the Glennon Hospital, both medical records and casualty, and at some of the health centers. We are going to celebrate our young people, led by Javon West, who is supported by a number of young people to get this work done. We did not invest in futility when we ensured, Madam Speaker, or worked to make sure they got a solid education here in Montserrat and further afield. Full installation of the services and our critical equipment, which I've heard about, will happen between 2023 to 2024. I'm not going to repeat, because we already know we had the additional £3 million, and our city scanner And the Honorable PRO will attest, lest we forget, that Madam Hector said right down the road, when others said we can't have a mammogram, that we are going to get a mammogram. Our women and our men too, because men do get breast cancers. They'll be taken care of. We give God thanks for small mercies. Early detection save lives. Remember, we continue our breast examination, and that reminder is also for me. Madam Speaker, you have heard already about the city scanner, and that will be operationalized even before the completion of the new health hospital, guaranteeing our patients improved access to diagnostic services without having to leave the island. Thank God, no more small plane ride to Antigua, and you're wondering, and I will not say what was on your mind, but I know life and death are in the power of the tongue. So no more wondering while you're sick and taking that plane. No more wondering how you're going to pay the enormous bill to fly Montserrat and for your medical care. I heard a sad story the other day. One man had to pay $10,000 just for the flight over the St. Patrick's holiday because of our access issues. Madam Speaker, no more of that. And I'll come to that later. But some monies have allocated for access, and so I hope to see the improvement realized in the life of the people. And early enough, I am supported by the Honorable Buffon. I don't take things for myself, I share. All he knows not to call me a particular name. I was going to demonstrate for him this morning, but he's lucky, the shop was closed. Madam Speaker, training will also be given on the new machines. I wish to reassure you, as I did in this very Parliament building before. We have been investing to secure our future, our people, our Montserrat. And please, when we speak of our people, we are speaking about everybody, no matter your nationality, no matter your creed or religion, no matter your color, no matter your political party. We are many people with one vision, one mission, one dream, and teamwork makes the dream work. And that is how we're going to move forward with our people. For together, I believe we are stronger. Everybody has their part to play. Mastam, Masdik, Anisha, Tasha, whatever your nice name is, all of us have a part to play. Excellence, Madam Speaker, is who we are, is who we strive to be, and it is who we will be. And so, a component of transforming our services will include training and customer service training, an important component. The ministry values this to build a world-class health service, a world-class country. Both the individual and organization must engage in continuous professional development to this end. We have recently returned among us our public health nurse, and a registered nurse, I think is still completing, and we want to welcome them and applaud them. And several staff members are also currently pursuing studies to fill other vacancies at the ministry. The individuals who are undertaking the program of study, as we endeavor to ensure that our medical staff are adequately trained, will also undergo current certification. They have undergone training in basic life support as well as advanced cardiac life support. Forgive me. Madam Speaker, in that vein, we celebrate our family nurse practitioner, our master's degree in child adult safeguarding in the persons of our Sharice, who is at the Ministry, that's Alan, at the Ministry of Communication, Works and Labor, and our nurse, her name is evading me now. She's just gotten married, so I'm trying to get her Miss Sarah's daughter, Miss Sarah that worked by the library. You Montserratians know how to get people business. So I'll tell you, Miss Sarah's, Miss Sweeney. She's now Mrs. Emma, to correct. We have already heard, Madam Speaker, that telemedicine is already incorporated into our health service. And so, not to prolong, Minister have already shared of our radiology, cardiology, neurology, oncology, obstetrics, pediatrics, and respiratory reviews, as well as echocardiogram. Those things we could not have before. This organization will also help us to manage certain conditions, and these are all individually priced. It's not a big contract. We will augment and strengthen this system, as you've already heard, with our visiting specialist program. Especially for the men, we will restart urology services on a visiting specialist program this year. The ophthalmologists will visit, so we can restart in this financial year. And we will also have, added to that, endoscopic surgery and radiology. Mammogrammy as well, we will be undertaking, and colonoscopy. That costs a lot, and we used to have to travel for that, as well as endoscopy. We are glad to know that we still have the UK quota system in place, and it's extended, as you would have heard, to 10 places, but that is on a referral basis. Our legislative agenda has already been referred to by Minister, but we look at amending the Burial Act and the New Nurses Act. But with God's help and our care of our people and them taking care of themselves, we will not be taking up too much space in this extension. No man, Madam Speaker, is an island to himself. And it was through our partnerships, Public Health Agency, CARPHA, our international partners in the UK, UKHSA, who assisted us. And even now, we are developing a non-communicable disease health workforce plan and lab strengthening project. Without mental health, and I'm very strong on mental health, because you lose your mental health and you lose you. And so, we have extended our clinical psychology and our psychiatrists and outreach programs have been strengthened. So we hosted a Spanish-speaking community mental health workshop with the SDA, Seventh-day Adventist Church, who transported, hosted, and provided translation services. Again, together we can. The workshop was for identifying as well suicide behavior, as some 28 persons benefited from that. Reviewing our mental health policy is critical, but even as we strive to undertake this, We must do all that we can for our people. As a government, we will seek to do more for mental health in the island. There is just no price, no price, no price for one's mental health. As educated and brilliant as some of us think we are, or I should say some persons, because I just think I'm blessed by God. Let our mental health fail, or your family member, and I'm sure if you have a heart, you will see mental health and those who suffer with mental health issues in a different light. The journey has been arduous and difficult, and some, not that we want to live in the past. Our young people always ask, why do you go back? But at times you need to reflect in order to go forward. And some would come and see the lovely houses, but they came at a cost. The struggle, the suffering, and yet even some of the lovely houses are incomplete inside. And many persons, mental health, suffer. They did not rebuild because they wanted to show off. We had no choice but to rebuild or to purchase. So those who come and ask why we give our people land, lest them forget, lest they forget the road we traveled, they did not travel. We must look at ensuring that our psychiatrist visits Montserrat. Many are concerned, and I am, with what I'm seeing in this community and the management of mental health persons. I've sat in the magistrate's court and I've had to deal with them, and some of them I've never seen reach the place they are today. And it hurts my heart that I am now scared sometimes to engage with some of them like I used to because of the spectrum of mental health that they have reached. I've asked the health team to look at it, having our psychiatrists on ground and managing our patients more effectively. We give thanks for Dr. Bamiseli, our clinical psychologist, and sometimes I wonder how he does it, because as an individual, and I know others, we speak to a lot of persons. We suffer a great loss with Nurse Charmaine Thompson and recognize and register our gratitude for hard work and the difference she made in our lives simply by coming into contact with her. We continue to uphold her daughter, her family and friends in our prayers because, again, grief can impact one's mental health. All working together to build a stronger Montserrat, an excellent Montserrat, which is still nice, still home, and despite that we are mortals, still paradise. Madam Speaker, I remain committed that no one will be left behind. my government and I have worked towards getting a national policy on the care of the older persons on Montserrat, as well as an action plan to enable implementation. We thank all those who contributed and did so frankly and ruthlessly. And I ask you to keep on sitting on the wall to ensure that as a government, we do what we can to ensure that older persons and their caregivers, their lives are enhanced, the highest standards of physical, mental, psychosocial care is given in a very caring environment, whether at home or in a facility for older persons. This policy, as you've heard, quickly related to and tightly bonded with an action plan that focuses on providing protection, care, and residential services, but covers the need to focus on optimal engagement and participation of growing of older persons in our communities. We want to see our older persons in the gym. We want to see our older persons engaging more in our community, not just Older Persons Month. We want to thank all those who visit them, especially at the residential homes, the church, groups, individuals. Thank you so much. We will work towards reducing as far as possible poverty amongst the older population. And so, Madam Speaker, again, it is together that we can do it, because saving Social Security will help a lot of them. And even with Social Security, many are still finding it difficult. And so we plan to ensure that legislation related to the well-being of older persons in the population is advanced. Minister spoke of disability, and it will be a shame, and we'll have to answer for it, be in this world or the next, if we sit and do nothing. We have heard of left to die, being marginalized. And I can assure you that some of our gifted persons in this community are persons with disability. It is not enough for us to spout rhetoric about social justice and inclusivity and do nothing to ensure that we are inclusive. And so to this end, we will initiate stakeholder consultations towards the development and approval of our disability policy in the new financial year. And I ask you to join with us and participate. We cannot simply speak about putting progress first and leaving people behind. We must not only leave legacies of buildings, but let the legacy of touching a life live on after you have gone. I don't hear it much, but growing up, I often heard, let your good name, or your good name will live after you are long gone. And as 1 John 3:17 said, whoever has the world's goods and shut up his compassion from him, how does the love of God dwells in his heart? And Jesus said, it is by our love that they will know we are his. This government came in on a Christian platform, a spiritual platform, a religious platform, lest we forget. And so, Madam Speaker, towards that end, Our Social Welfare Act was last updated in 2011. The Act currently provides requirements that must be satisfied for administering financial assistance to specific cohorts or groups of persons, vulnerable persons in our community. So while the government continues to provide social welfare assistance on a monthly basis for approximately 300 persons, it is not all-encompassing, as we know. We want an act that is sufficiently responsive to the changing needs of our population. So 2023, the ministry will undertake extensive consultation throughout Montserrat to upgrade the version of the act we now have to cater for the needs of our citizens. Madam Speaker, and even now, my colleagues and I sat down one day and we tried to work out how much it costs a single person to live in Montserrat. Dr. Sami, I think we came up to 2,000 plus, pardon? 2,000 plus, nearly 3,000. And we did not even go into detail about having nutritious meals. Madam Speaker, whether we like it or not, times are hard and our people are suffering. But sometimes I realize that evil people don't know when evil is happening. So those of us who have a heart, we cannot forget those who are in need. Unemployment benefit, we do not offer that. Our brothers and sisters in the United Kingdom are allowed to transition the path between unemployment and employment because of unemployment benefit. We had an increase of 3%. Some cases, some are calling it paltry, a slap in the face. But as you have heard in other cases, and we must be balanced, some get up to 26%. Our pensioners as well have had difficulties. We need to also consider our private sector people. We need to consider private sector from the employer's position and from the employee's position. People have been asking for a cost of living allowance. And I don't think that is unreasonable, given the cost of living. And that's why I said, Minister Cranston might have called me, Madam, because I was going to bring my bag to Parliament this morning, but I forgot it. And the receipt too. Because, Madam Speaker, and I'm sure like myself, we've been off bread for a while because we're trying to eat healthy. But on my way home one evening after whatever time from the office, I decided I'm hungry and I need something. I'm not going home to cook. I picked up a bun, a Vienna sausage, hamburger bread. So I pay. Then I turn around and I say, wait, how much for the bun? $2.50 from $1.25? And hamburger bread gone up to $6 something? And then a man came by and said, well, the $1.50 bread is now $2.50. And I am buying it because I'm not going home to cook because I can't afford to finish the gas. Madam Speaker, it shocked me. And then I all knew that we were getting the increase. So I inquired a bit about wages. And then the young lady shared, you know, my boss, they're nice. These people nice. But $300 a week is difficult to manage at the end of the month. And plus, Madam Speaker, some of them have to send home some money to assist with families living abroad. But this is a government who consider the well-being. We advocate helping families, supporting families, and protecting families. And I'm not allowed to disclose all. But soon from now, some people won't have to send home so much money, I hope. And we can all eat at one pot, one water bill, one light bill. Premier said, talk what is on your mind. Talk as you like, how you want to like, as you like. Not that I need permission, but I respect order. Well, I hear some muttering out there, but he lashed me. But that must be for who's sitting next to him. Because I don't want to believe he wants to be accused of professional abuse. There is much of it in the service, but that is for another time. Abuse of power. So, Madam Speaker, we must do whatever we can to assist our people. We cannot, Madam Speaker, in all justification, and don't get me wrong, because I know the Honorable Minister on the other side is going to say, TC is essential. I have no difficulty with that in some cases. But we must look at the disparity. You cannot be saying 10% is unreasonable. Pay one person 6,000 and then come and pay somebody else 24,000. I have a difficulty with that. We too must live. As I will say, we too must live. Man and woman, child, neighbor, everybody in this country must live and have decent living. Decent and affordable housing. Level up. When I was there was right there in a meeting talking about leveling up for decent and affordable housing. I well wanted to go into the meeting, but we had other things to attend to. That is not what I was sent to do. Minister will come and speak of decent and affordable housing. I recall being in England and hear this man on the bus about he flat. Well, I want to know who grandmother died and they did not probate the will and give the man he flat. How you could keep the man house only to find out he was making noise for council flat. And we're not making noise. We are saying work with us to give our people decent and affordable housing And I am pleased, and I know Honorable Buffon will come and share on that later. Yes, the Premier had it in his budget. 18 new houses. And may I say, I've already told the minister, I can't imagine that the Land Housing Authority celebrates 50 years and we're not building 50 new houses to celebrate their 50 years. I don't know about what's coming. I know what I have now. But he says CPREG 2. So we look forward to CPREG 2. Monsterations want to come home too. In some cases, you take them out, repatriate them back. Affordable housing, decent rent, and their pension. And we're safeguarding our adults and our people because we said people first. Campaign promises are not idle talk for me, maybe for some. And people saying, we want to come to their yard, sit on their step, pick their fruits, and don't deliver anything. But we are going to seek to redress what we can. Madam Speaker, again, we are concerned about safeguarding our children. And so the ministry is advancing the work of establishing a child and adult safeguarding board that will ensure multi-agency approach and the effectiveness of arrangements made by individuals, ministries, and organizations to safeguard our children and adults. I'm not going to get into that because you would have heard we have done so much work and will continue to do that in training persons in the schools, in the community, in the church to safeguard our children. But as I've always said, and I'm going to maintain that, we can do all we can, but if the family structure in which these children live and there is no provision for them, we are putting our children at risk. A single woman, unemployed, and not that they're not working. A lady came to me the other day. I called down to Labor to inquire about a job for her. And Labor said, tell me the name. I told them, and they said, she has been here, she has been looking. So some of us have the view that people are not looking work. People are looking work, but we also have to remember, everybody ain't going to hire everybody. And in some cases, there is just no room for some. All of us can't plant backyard garden because me for sure, they might come, but I don't know if they're going to last. Oh yes, I can talk and I will tell you what is healthy. And that is why I carry my hat to convert into the bag. I've got style. Yes, we do it with style, we do it with excellence. But on a very serious note, we must recognize that I might sell something, but you will not buy from me. So it does not mean that employment is quickly achievable in our current environment. Minister spoke as well, as you know we share the same ministry, about the returning and how we're going to deal with our parolees, our ex-offenders, our juveniles, and our probationers. We support these persons, Madam Speaker, and we recognize that they have difficulty reintegrating back into society. In fact, when they go to prison, sometimes they're not even getting the required, mandated psychological and medical treatment mandated by the court. It's like sometimes, Madam Speaker, people feel that prisoners must be punished twice. Prisoners are sentenced by the court, not by anybody else. So let me make it clear. Prisoners have rights. Ex-offenders have rights. Parolees have rights. As Mr. Markham, God bless his soul, rest in peace, would always say in court, but for God, there goes I. They have a right to be heard, to receive medical attention for both physical and psychological emotional issues. Often, some feel that a prison sentence is a failure, but life can be much harder because of prejudices held once persons have gone to prison. We must do what we must, but we must show mercy, and we must do good where we can. And so that is what the ministry is seeking to advance. In providing interventions, programs, and procedures which will inform our policies to better support our persons who were once imprisoned, re-enter society, or even those, Madam Speaker, who are not remanded or who are not sentenced, but allowed to work. They need support. We are a catchment, so to speak, at social services. We do domestic violence. We do unemployment. People come to us, but there's still so many gaps. It seems as if we're just never flowing as a country. There are times we need to refer persons, but the services are not available for sustainability. A part of our vision is to empower people, but we are very challenged doing this. We need to help our people get rid of their poverty mindset. For with the right mindset and attitude, they can do more. So let us try and support one another, as Minister said earlier today. As a very small society, let us try to do more. Let us be more driven to open doors and not hold back others or ourselves. It is teamwork that makes the dream work, for it is together that we can advance the work of the ministry. The staff works tirelessly. There's often shortages, while at the same time they're seeking to ensure residents are able to access the services that we offer. So we take this opportunity to thank our stakeholders in the community and our very own staff, Charity Begins at Home, of the Ministry of Health and Social Services, who have contributed to the realization, to some extent, of the ministry's objective over the last financial year. And we look forward to our continued collaboration towards the delivery of our major projects. As government, we cannot do it alone. We must also remember, as I said, that despite the increase for social services, what can we do to help our private sector who is hard hit? What can we do to help our private sector workers and even civil servants who are struggling, because many are struggling? Minister have already explained some of what has happened, so I'm not repeating. But even with the assistance, the surcharge is still quite high for some persons. We will also, as Premier have shared, support our diasporans who want to return home. Many have said they want to return and want to prepare, but are not quite ready to come. There's much benefit to be derived if they were to build homes and maintain them, because certainly somebody needs to clean, somebody needs to keep the yard in good order, and bills still have to be paid. So we look forward to continuing the work together across the ministries. The ministry, as I said before, and Minister spoke to that we do spend money, and the same for the Ministry of Education, Youth and Sports, which was greatly tested in a variety of challenges in our operations and continuity. We had many setbacks, but transformative projects and initiatives were undertaken. I too recognize the difficult years of COVID, lest we forget. But I have to defend COVID or hire a lawyer for COVID, because too many people just slander COVID, blame COVID for false ineffectiveness, weaknesses, incompetence, you name it, and it's COVID's fault. COVID brought some prosperity, as you have heard, and yet we are ungrateful and still blaming COVID. The COVID blame needs to stop, and we get to work. Staffing continues to be a challenge. We need quality teachers for teaching and learning. Our teachers' low morale is high. Our teacher retention, as you heard, is a headache. Discipline, completion of SBAs, parents and community dissatisfaction, students disillusioned with the platter and its offerings are real. We cannot deny them. But there is much to be celebrated. We remain committed to our teachers and staff and the persons at the ministry as well, who keep working hard and giving of their best. Our students and parents and their stakeholders who have rallied with us, showing their flexibility and capability to respond in the time of need. We still have students who are behaving, who are performing academically, who are performing in sports. We just cannot forget the sporting events, the power of basketball, the athletic prowess displayed, friendly, energetic, exhilarating house rivalry that we saw just a few weeks ago. Cheerleaders, our graduation, our concerts, and other successful school activities. We must celebrate. We have a lot to celebrate. And so we say thank you. We say thank you. We say thank you to all who contributed. But we must do what we have to do and hold each other accountable. The theme for education is transforming education through innovation and resilience. The ministry is working assiduously on finalizing 2 key policies which will transform sector and country. The first of their kind and long overdue, but this government is committed to completing projects that are necessary for our growth and development. The Montserrat National Curriculum and the Montserrat National Sports and Recreation Policy to bring sectors under the modern era, improve quality teaching and learning, as well as a clear roadmap for the development of sports on Ireland. Both were promised and need to be delivered. We must remove our myopic lens and invest in sports. We must recognize the power of sports to build individuals and country, the power of sports for creating health and well-being, strong, optimum mental and physical health, the power of sports to foster and maintain community cohesion, the power of sports to bring economic advancement. And in that case, the importance of access to sports to develop and advance regional and international events. The power of sports through sports tourism is full of possibilities. The power of sports for youth empowerment, the power of sports to create opportunities for our youths is unlimited. The power of sports to create and help maintain national pride can never be overlooked or underestimated. It is therefore imperative that the budget and the national sports policy that we work to ensure investment in our sporting infrastructure, our sportsmen and women and the associations responsible for advancing sports to the professional level, regionally and internationally. We must be committed, especially if we're serious about our youths. There are things, Madam Speaker, that we can advance to encourage our young persons who are in sports. They're free health care, dental, because they have to smile when they represent us, physiotherapy when hurt or damaged, duty-free concession on sporting gear and nutritional food and vitamins, and to some extent clothing, because when they represent us, they must represent us well. For we are people of excellence. Madam Speaker, we heard about young Jordan. Those who came to basketball saw him. The visiting teams spoke about him and feared him. And we're today wondering about getting Jordan a scholarship and supporting Jordan. We have been advancing the academics. I say it is time for us to have sporting scholarships, not waiting for just the outside sporting scholarship. Of course we welcome those, but it is time for us to pivot our youths. It is time for us to let them know that we are taking them seriously. Our deficient sporting infrastructure and the support and the stress they have to undergo, we must reconsider. They play, they perform creditably, and we applaud them when they go overseas. But even when they start in a race, I don't know what they call that piece of equipment. They're running on grass. And when they get overseas, it's a different type of material that they must perform on. And yet we want to criticize and say this and say that about them when they have not started on a level ground. My government and the Minister of Finance have said we are supporting youths. And together with my government, and I know Minister Cranston, giving of his time, give Jack his jacket, giving of his skill to ensure that we advance sports, that our Premier, our Finance Minister, will look and see how we can allocate more support for our sport persons. We must definitely build a stronger relationship with our organization as we travel our trajectory for health, growth, and prosperity. Whether we like it or not, he who masters the international sporting arena commands the attention and the respect of the world. I opened my phone to check the news, and reading an article, here was the heading: Carifta plays an important role in Jamaica's global track and field prowess. Carifta plays an important role in Jamaica's global track and field prowess. You know how I would have felt and see my colleague here from Jamaica proud of a country at Carifta, I'm sure, that I would have seen Montserrat written in that article. I continue to thank all our sportsmen and women, our youths, our organizers, our coaches, our supporters, and all who work with them and the private sector. Despite the difficult times, they keep giving. Those as well who are in the diaspora, thank you for your support and your cooperation, and to our sportsmen and women for enduring and making your contribution. Even those, and I don't say even, those at the pavilion, I want to thank you for keeping that program alive where you talk sports. Madam Speaker, it's a serious matter. The other day, and Damien is not the only one I'm going to call, he chose to play for Montserrat in Leeward Islands, cricket, got damaged, and could not participate with a possible contract for just about $6,000 US. We don't understand the sacrifice that our sportsmen and women make for us. Madam Speaker, a wise ruler gives security to a nation, and one of the ways in which this can be achieved is through a sound education. Education in all its meaning, because all aspects are necessary. Our budget reflects that 6% is allocated to education. I've done some research. If I'm wrong, it's from finance, but I say that with caution. As I hear 6, I hope 6 meant that is low. We want more. Comparing, but this is on their GDP. Norway and Chile are among the highest at 6.6% of their GDP. Israel and New Zealand at 6.2%. The United Kingdom at 6.1%. And as I've said, on our budget, just doing the calculations quickly, it's about 6% that we give to our budget. The theme for coming year, as I said, is transforming education through innovation and resilience. A time to reset. If reset means giving more to education, then I'm definitely there supporting. No child left behind. And so in addition, the national curriculum will ensure that physical education, civics, and information technology are core subjects for all students in primary education and secondary school education. This to help us develop strong mindsets, a winning mindset, a prosperity mindset, a discipline, health and well-being. This world is highly competitive, and we must prepare our children for the real world. Our ICT policy continues, as you would have heard from the minister, and we are moving towards blended learning of book and technology, which will become standard instruction and it's necessary that resources are made available to all parties. No child must be left behind. Minister, as I said, would have spoken of the 240,000 euros to support digital transformation, and so I'm not going to go into that, but to say, and I know he's going to ask me where the money going to come from, but it would be a great advancement if we can ensure that as we move along, every child, or might say every home as minimum, have a working computer that children and parents can study from, can learn from. I know some have phones, but sometimes it's difficult to work from the phones. And so we will seek to advance that every child, or might say every home, might be more practical at this level, should have some equipment in their home in addition to the support that we will provide at school. We continue to work in upgrading knowledge and skills of our early childhood care and education curriculum and project approach with our teachers. And we will train as we prepare them to continue teaching through play and learn and address literacy and numeracy interventions. We have brought on board a literacy and numeracy specialist and a school educational psychologist to the tune of nearly $4,500 a year. This is indicative of our commitment to our children and nation building. Bringing up our children is not a favoritism competition. It's not an ego trip. We must do what we must do. I wish to thank Ms. Smallins, our former school psychologist, who had a vision that was said could not be done for us to have those specialists on Montserrat. And she's gone, but today her words have lived on. I'm not skylarking with nobody. Our children must be given an opportunity to realize their potential. Try to lock me out. I will get in like ash on your bed. You have to get up, shake it up, and go elsewhere and lie down. I don't have political power as parliamentary secretary. All the constitution says is assist minister. But I have the power of prayer and humility. Yes, I will keep praying, and I'm praying for you too, Honorable, on the other side. Now, our specialists will provide training in their respective fields. They will work with our teachers on matters pertaining to classroom instruction, lesson plans, and innovation in teaching. And they will do diagnostic assessments. And I hope, from what I heard ministers say, we are working on getting our psychologists her assessment tools. And I pray her room is now ready. We have to learn from our mistakes. Our education psychologist is also offering and will support with our counseling. And we are also supported by a specialist team from Barbados who will be here at the end of this month. Madam Speaker, investing today to secure our future, our Montserrat, our people. Dr. Sami, if he's so minded, because we have discussed that here before, will tell of the technological programs from his ICT policy that are introduced into the school and the community. Also, Minister Bufong is doing his part with agriculture, environment, and climate change. And I've already spoken about his support with housing so that our children can have a decent house to live in. We will also work at improving, and Minister spoke about that, was our L&M common stream, our lab resources, and support positive student behavior. And Madam Speaker, I hope an improvement in getting our SBAs completed in good time. This government never said, we will. We said together we can. Again, the theme for this budget is building a stronger Montserrat together. Teamwork, I believe, make the dream work. Therefore, all of us are in this together, starting from the home, daycare, nursery school, neighbor, you can't talk as you like and behave as you like around our children. The community, the diaspora, primary school, the government of Montserrat, the Legislative Assembly, Madam Speaker, Honorable on the other side, all of you. I'm not going to follow minister. So when you go and travel, remember the school. We must work together to ensure that we invest now, and our investment give us dividends, a better Montserrat. No more sticking plaster psychology. Visit, smile, take pictures, speak nice words. Those cannot work. We need to remedy the delinquencies, remove the narrow personal agendas, and save our school, and by extension, our country. Do what we must. Stop making excuses for people's ineptness, incompetence, immaturity, failure to produce, bad-mindedness, obstruction to process, you name it. We will stop curry favoring, and we're going to build our school together, because we have a country to mold and a nation to build. I don't have any other country to go to. They can throw me out at any time. Even with Britain, a stroke of the pen, it's right back to Montserrat I'm coming. Honorable Hogan, I'm not speaking about you. Many diaspora people are getting ready to come home, and plenty want to come home. Let us do what we can to build a Montserrat. And they too, as I've said before, are a part of this team. Give Jack its jacket. Call a spade a spade. Minister has already spoken about the work that has gone on at MSS painting and rehabilitating the sports area for netball, basketball, and tennis. Things are also happening at St. Peter's, where some wire was given to help keep the basketball inside. Van Dyer, thank you very much for what you're doing. Again, as a private sector, you're getting involved. That is working together. Our Honorable Premier has promised an allocation for vocational training to develop our youth in skills area. That is, to develop our youths in skill area. Mechanics, tradesmen, air condition technicians, you name it. But we cannot forget agriculture, because food security is important. We must extend such programs to our community college if it is going to be sustainable. We must reset our community college. There is much to be done. The board needs to get in place, and no more sitting for a whole year, and we have a college to run. Our agricultural program can also be extended when we get our things together. We're already here at Montserrat Secondary School. They've expanded this to what is called a Community Young Producers Group. It was launched in early November, and there's a passion for securing food supply for this country. There's a Miss Margaret on Island from patrons of Montserrat, and she's also spearheading a youth empowerment through agriculture and will work with the Ministry of Agriculture to develop such programs for women and youth. I've already spoken with members of the team at Agriculture, and we too are looking at how our women can get involved. I heard Minister speaking about catching the fowls. That is one of the programs or one of the projects that have been submitted. Let us work together to build a stronger Montserrat. Library services. Early last year, we heard about our public library. Very interesting how long a library has been in Montserrat. It preserves our culture. It aims to provide access to long life learning opportunities for our people of Montserrat and beyond. In line with its motto, a library and information system that shapes the future. These developments will be accomplished as they continue to work through various programs. The library also look at executing cutting-edge programs, online programs that are easily accessible with a push of a button. And so they're promoting their activities on social media and providing online resources in fulfillment of this vision. They are already enjoying, Minister may not have known, some of the expanded accommodations in the new plaza at Braids, the fancy blue and white building of Mr. Barry Chalmers. We thank you, Mr. Chalmers, and we salute you for the work you have undertaken in leveling up, looking good, feeling strong, building a stronger Montserrat together, for it is together that we can, and we will. Several programs will be continued, and I will not go into depth because Minister have spoken about them. A huge demand for our summer reading program, a huge demand for Festival of the Word, and the homework program extended into the communities. We have spoken about our community centers. Our community centers are for our people. And as Minister have shared, except for Salem, which we are going to be refurbishing with the assistance of BNTF, we should by now be expanding our homework program into our community. There are many teachers around, some retired, some still at work, who are ready and willing to assist in doing so. And so I look forward to bringing that home. One of the challenges that we have faced both in private sector and some NGOs, they were not legally registered. This government, through the youth department, assisted firstly in holding a workshop right upstairs where they were introduced and given the tools that they need to help get registered. I was delighted some weeks ago to attend a meeting, a discussion put on the leadership, and I don't know his Rasta name, but Brother John over in Salem. We had a very interesting night on what it means to be a part of this society or to be excluded. Keep up the good works, all you community groups, NGOs. Without you, we cannot do it. The Red Cross, I don't want to start naming names. We are all thankful for your valuable contribution, and also those groups that are in the diaspora that keep supporting our expansion. I know the Lakes, they don't like advertisement. We want to thank Iris for the work she has been doing, and we want to thank Joycelyn and her brother for the barrels they sent so that we can assist persons in the community. They live in Montreal, Canada, menstruations from trials, over the gut, of course. And so we want to thank them and all who else have contributed. Miss Rose as well from Fairfield, we are saying thank you. Thank you and send more. And all those who continue to give, thank you. As Kofi Annan articulated, literacy is the road to human progress and the means through which every man, every woman, and child can realize their full potential. And we want to give all people the power to do so. That is, to realize their full potential. We have a great concern of unemployment among us, youth unemployment. And so we will work together to alleviate this. As Minister already spoke of, we have some of our apprentices in our schools, and at the end of the program, we are saying we can't retain you, we can't hire you, but we expect others to hire. We must lead by example. We must lead by example. And so, I've spoken with our Labor Department Minister, Sammy, Dr. Sammy, the Honorable, knows I'm always in his department. And I'm always down by Labor, and we are discussing what we can do to advance. I even christened his chair and took picture before he got an opportunity to see his new chair. Looking lovely, Dr. Sammy. And I thank your staff and yourself for the warm welcome whenever I go over there. But the Honorable Premier has promised close to $500,000 for our youths, and we look forward to seeing that used up this year. I want to encourage our youths to think, experience, and gain skills that never can be taken away. I am always perplexed by the fact that I go to nursery school graduations, and the majority of the children want to be nurses. They want to be nurses. They want to be police. But when the time comes, every year the police is recruiting and must go abroad to secure officers for its force. That needs to stop. We can't be at home sitting down and saying, "Me nah join the police. Me nah come to Babylon." And you have subjects. You have opportunity to get subjects. And you don't have no money. And you don't have no experience. We must start somewhere. Make a difference. When you get into the police service, change the things you don't like and hold others and yourself accountable. And the subject of police, a lot needs addressing, but today is not the day because others need to speak. But I'm very concerned that one of our young, ambitious police officers who graduated as an engineer is now being told to dumb down, when those who are carrying out the role as TC has the requisite qualification that he's about to complete his practice for. I like to get the facts. All right. But I haven't had all the facts yet. That our graduate, and we have another one, Wes, is also going to be finishing, and a program is in place. And he's now going to be told something otherwise. I know Honorable is saying talk straight, but I cannot speak irresponsibly. I need to do my research properly and speak with HE and our Premier to look at redressing this matter in good conscience and in financial wisdom. We cannot be saying we are backing our youths, and now is the time for them to get their qualification, where we are paying someone a TC or 2 TCs for the exact qualification, and you're going to ask my young black man that has been taught, go to school and learn, little black boy. You ain't going to no prison. You ain't walking on the street. You're going to buy your land and you're going to build your house. That is what John Bassett tells us we must do. And wear your stocking and your high shoes and build your nice house too. Whether y'all think it's sexist or not, the stocking's going to come out. We must be ambitious. And we must have ambitious dreams for our young people. And no one, and Minister said, where's his writing? Because I wrote it, I can't even find it, I don't want to. Where's the writing? That anyone, that any force who tried to stop people from coming to Montserrat should be stopped. Montserrat is bigger than them. And anyone who tried to stop Montserratians from being ambitious, and our young people especially, from striving to achieve their goals and their dreams, cannot be considered a friend of this country or the people of Montserrat. Why must our young people dumb down? I hope this matter is addressed. The government of Montserrat is also considering a community development unit to establish a gender desk and a disability desk through projects and grants, and to support our services. We have already referred to that, so I will not prolong that. We cannot forget the Montserrat Motorsports Association, and the government of Montserrat is currently considering the partnership and will do what it can to advance this project, the much-needed home for the Montserrat Sports Association, to facilitate this development as a model from hobby to income. Again, I reiterate, our sportsmen and women have the potential. Take off our myopic lenses and do what we must. The Department of Community Youth Sports, we will continue to support our culture, our tradition, and our heritage, and look forward to continued growth from strength to strength. As we have already heard, we do spend a lot of money with them, on them, but we will address that at another time. Lest we forget, we are the people's steward. We must remember that we can only fool some of the people, some of the time, but we can't fool all the people, all the time. Lest we forget, where there are people, there is a God. Where there are people, there are problems. Where there are people, there are problems. And where there are problems, There are solutions to all problems with God's help. God bless this honorable House, the Legislative Assembly of Montserrat. God bless the people of Montserrat. God bless Montserrat. And where there are people, there is a God, and we have a God who will fight for us. If it pleases you, Madam Speaker, I yield to the next speaker. Thank you.
I'm going to ask that we move for an adjournment at this time for lunch. Can somebody please make the motion?
Madam Speaker, if it pleases you, I remain standing to move an adjournment for a luncheon until 2:30. We'll take the luncheon adjournment.
I recognize the Honorable Deputy Premier.
Madam Speaker, I rise to second the motion for adjournment for lunch, and I would suggest that we come at 2 o'clock instead of 2:30.
So we'll have to correct the motion.
If it pleases you, Madam Speaker, I move that the adjournment moved by myself be amended to 2 p.m. instead of 2:30.
Okay, it has been moved and seconded that this Honorable House be adjourned for lunch until 2. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed nay. And the ayes have it. We stand adjourned until 2.